Hi, my name is Brendan Lino, and this is my single player Quake level, Fiend. I'll be discussing much of the design insights that went into creating this level. Right from the start of my design process, I selected a narrative that I thought went well with Quake. Much of Quake is about fighting off demons and confronting the ultimate evil, so I wanted to adopt that, but add my own twist. I decided to make the theme of the level in the ancient Greek underworld that many mythological tales talk about. So throughout the level, I created my own interpretation of areas in the underworld and bridged them together to deliver an experience. From the very start of the level, I tried to immerse the player by framing this view into an ominous tunnel. You can see the night enemy walk down the stairs, beckoning you further in. The use of scripted events like this really helps make the game world feel alive. I use patrolling enemies like this fairly often. This also serves as a great way to introduce the player to an enemy once at a time, making use of the isolation principle. Here I incorporate more pedagogical elements by framing this view of a locked gate with the symbol of a golden key highlighted at the base. The player will remember this as they continue forward. Continuing on, the player moves into an open arena to introduce the demon enemy. This open space makes the player more comfortable with its lunging attacks. I mix up the pace of gameplay by moving the player along deceivingly linear paths. Although in reality there's only one way forward, the twist, turns, and different changes in height make the experience more convincing. Surprising moments like teleporting enemies in front of the player creates more interesting encounters. After every few encounters, the player is given breathing time to collect health, ammo, and sometimes even new weapons. My weapons are intentionally selected to give the player a good tool for their current situation. By framing this view of the golden key, I can lure players inwards, only to ambush them with another demon. After defeating the demon, they now have the golden key and a convenient drop down to a locked gate. The use of loops like this was a common trait of the original Quake levels made by id. My next section gears the player up before placing them on a raft to sail down the deadly river Styx. What may seem scenic at first sparks disaster for the player as enemies lunge from the heights above. When fighting against ranged enemies, cover is provided to ensure the player has as many tools at their disposal as possible. By strategically placing enemies, I can alter the front, or direction in which combat is occurring. I can change this rather boring straight boat ride into a more dynamic battle. After entering the large doors, the player is ambushed by the final new type of enemy, the Hell Knight. This ambush prevents a common issue of FPS level design known as the door problem. Many players will retreat out of a room the second they smell trouble, but this scenario provides no easy way out. Finally, the player enters Tartarus, the primordial deity where the wicked are sent to be punished. The way forward is framed by the torch-lit hallway and the pentagram centerpiece, but there's no way forward yet. The fork in the path here doesn't matter in the end, as the player will need to travel down both pathways eventually. I use this stone texture and dark lighting to simulate a dungeon. This helps give it a more medieval feel. Here's another use of loops in my level design. Slight adjustments to height add a surprising amount of depth. Now with both buttons pressed, the way forward opens. After some easy jumps across the lava, the player is geared with the pentagram of protection, granting them invulnerability and a way forward. My level concludes when the player reaches the gates of the Palace of Hades. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're curious on more of the elements of my design process, you can check out the GitHub repo linked in the description. Thanks again. This has been Brendan.